afterward, which is very unlike me, because literally, like I said, with U of L and with like nursing and everything, like I had a plan, like, because I'm going to be a nurse. So this is a little bit of a change and kind of challenging for me, because I am going into this and not knowing what's coming afterward. But it's been really neat, because I've been like at peace with that. Like, I don't feel like I need to know what comes next, because my plan has not worked in the past. And so I'm excited to see his plan. But what I do know is, like, I definitely not want to do something with ministry. And I love art, and I know that it's going to have be very art-centered as well. So kind of what I want to take from these next 7 months into that afterward is just, like, the training is super intensive, and with Circuit Riders, it's...
is that the name of the school?
Yes, sorry. The name of the school is Circuit Riders. It's founded by former Youth with a Mission students, and so it kind of has a lot of the same foundation as YWAM or Youth with a Mission may have. Yeah, so it's the same with the 3.5 discipleship training school. 3.5 months, sorry, discipleship training school, or we call it DTS, just because it's easier to say that. And then the last 3.5 months is called outreach, and that is where we are sent out. So kind of what I was getting to about the first 3.5 DTS time, it's a very, like, intensive training. So it's a little bit like Bible school, but just really compact.
What does the training involve? Like, what would be, like, your day in and day out schedule?
Yeah, so there are 3 different tracks that they do. They have media, message, and music. And they have different leaders for each track. So with the media, they train you on how to use your skills as a photographer or as an artist, as digital art, social media, all that. They basically, like, train you how to use that for the sake of His glory and sharing the gospel. And then they have a whole nother track with music, where they train you in worship and train you in like lyrics and things of that sort.
What if you don't know, like, any instruments or anything like that?
That's a good question, because I'm not sure. I really have no idea what that looks like, because I was thinking about that. I was like, are there going to be people who, like...
Because I can't keep rhythm on a shoebox, and I can't carry a tune in a bucket either. So
right. And so that's why, like, I'm excited to see that side of it, because I don't know if people only sign up for the music school if they're already musically talented. So I'm not sure about that. That'll be something interesting. But for the message, which is actually the track that I'll be doing, they train you in lots of different ways, but they train you in how to share, like, your testimony, how to share the gospel, how to, like, speak and evangelize. And a few of the things that I think is super cool about it is they talk about how, like, sometimes you have 5 minutes to share your story, you share the gospel. What is most important to share in those 5 minutes? And then sometimes you have 25 minutes, sometimes you have an hour. So they kind of, like, that's a little bit more practical when it comes to that. It's like, okay, if you have this amount of time, what is the most important thing to share? What is the most important message? How can you relay that to other people in that amount of time? So that's a little bit more on the practical side, but they also, you have a one-on-one, is what they call it. So you have a mentor while you're there, basically, that is a little bit, not a little bit, but a lot more personal with you, and kind of leading you over the first 3.5 months of just, like, deeply, like, spiritually leading you, I guess, and kind of
helping you, like, grow as a Christian more, like finding out about your own spiritual walk.
Exactly, because they talk about so much, like, there has to be kind of like a revival and a spark inside of you before you can start a revival in another place, and growth in another place. So that's kind of their focus, and also a huge part of the 3.5 months of teaching you and growing you and finding, like, roots in you, like, that you didn't know existed, like, really digging deep in pruning and all, that's kind of a church word to use,
like,
but, like,
there might be, like, some stuff that, you know, you haven't really confronted in like your own life that you need to before you go talk to other people,
exactly. And I haven't had friends that have done circuit riders, but I've had friends that have done YWAM. And that's one of the things that they always say is like, they're like, you really go through like a crazy healing process, and they're like, there are things that you have to address that you didn't even know were still a heart issue. Like you didn't even know it still existed inside of you, but as you're like, as it's coming to the surface, like you start to see where it was like affecting different areas of your life, and so they kind of walk with you through that in a healing process of things that and that you didn't know were there, and bringing to the surface, and just letting Jesus be the one that heals you and that brings you out of that.
That's pretty understandable, because like, you know, if you've got stuff that you haven't dealt with, and then you plan on going to some environment that you've never been in before, where like the circumstances are just not ideal at all, like, I mean, you're not, like, nobody's gonna really blame you, because like everybody's like kind of having a hard time, but if you lash out in those ways that you don't know about yourself, like, it's gonna be kind of disappointing. But my next question I wanted to ask though was, like, so we've got schools like this, and then we have mission trips where it's a week long or 2 weeks